Morning everyone. It's 5 past. We've got 36 people in attendance, so I think we should probably just start getting the ball rolling because we're recording anyway. That's okay with everyone. Morning all, so welcome and thank you very much for joining us, especially a quite impromptu notice. We from the Growth Platform and LCR4 START would like to welcome you to our webinar on the Future Innovation Fund with some tips for applying. First of all, we've got Paul Radcliffe from Growth Platform, who's been manning the helplines on Growth Platform just regarding the Future Innovation Fund, and he's going to be talking us through it. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks very much, Danielle. Well, good morning to everybody on the call. My name is Paul Radcliffe. My day job is the business growth team at Growth Platform, and that now encompasses the recently launched Future Innovation Fund. So I'm going to spend about 10 minutes laying out a couple of things about the fund. Firstly, the 6 priority areas that projects need to be focused within. Secondly, what the economic impact and social value impact of any successful applications need to show us. Thirdly, the application process and exactly what will happen to hopefully gather the best of the applications that are out there in the region at the moment. And fourthly, to cover the information that we put together to help applicants. One thing that I do need to probably stress at the beginning is more around the ground rules for information on the fund. So there's been a lot of thought and effort put into making this an open competition, and that means that the same information has to be available to all applicants. So we're not going to be entering into side conversations with applicants about the merits of particular applications. That would be patently an unfair thing to do. So the way that we're going to manage that is that we put together probably about 250 pages of information, including frequently asked questions. And that frequently asked questions section is
I think we might have lost Paul there, Danielle, have we?
I was just trying to work out whether it was just me that had lost Paul or everyone. It's gone a bit rogue. Right. We'll just give him a chance to re-emerge.
Well, in the meantime, I think Paul may have dropped off, so I'll continue on, and hopefully Paul will be back.
Yeah.
And similarly, I'd like to sort of welcome everyone and a quick introduction as to who's on the call today. I'm Luke. I work for SDFC. So if you're familiar with the SciTech Daresbury site, you might have seen me knocking around the business breakfasts and in other places. I've also got Lee, who'll be joining from LJMU, and we'll be covering some bits about the programme as well from John Moore's side. And Dan as well from the Virtual Engineering Centre, and Adrian, who will be covering what they've been doing and all their interesting work in a variety of technology areas. But to start, I suppose what we'd like to cover today is to try and talk you through what this programme is, how it relates to the Future Innovation Fund, but kind of most importantly than that, we're trying to sort of hopefully give some tips about how we think to apply. I mean, we aren't the combined authority. We've studied the paperwork in some detail, and we think we can provide some good advice. But the bulk of this session will be left to Q&A. So what I'd stress is, as you're going through this, think of questions, please submit them in the Q&A tab. Challenge us as much as you want. And we've also kind of had agreement to submit anything that we're struggling with or don't think we can give an accurate representation participation on today. We'll submit to the combined authority and hopefully try and get an answer out to you post-event if it's something they feel they can answer and can add value to. So feel free to ask questions. But to start with, LCR4 START is being run currently as a successor to the LCR 4.0 program that some of you may have heard about. That program was mainly aimed at the manufacturing sector, about using a variety of different digital tools to achieve new capabilities and capacities from businesses within that sector. So how do I use visualization technologies, or perhaps how can I get links into the academic base within universities and make full value of the excellent resources we have within the city region. And this program is the natural successor to that. LCR4 START offers 2 days or up to 12 hours of high value expertise, fully funded business support to assist in the adoption of digital technologies and strategies. And we'll go into a little bit more detail about what each partner on the program can offer, but you can see them kind of listed below. We're well supported by the Growth platform. We're very lucky to have that link, but the main partners on the program include the University of Liverpool, Virtual Engineering Centre, Liverpool John Moores, Centre City, and ourselves at the Science and Technology Facilities Council. What does this mean in practical terms? It means we're here to support you in a number of different key areas that we think companies could do with more than just sort of taking on a digital asset. So it's not just about, okay, we can provide you the technical assistance and then we'll look from there into what we can do next. It's more about what are that pathway in the future towards providing a digital strategy? What do I do after this, limited business assist to keep using these digital technologies to their best advantage? And indeed, where are those next key areas I need to focus on? So skills is an excellent example of this. Perhaps you're a company who has developed an app and needs more expertise on data analytics. I'm conscious you're back with us, Paul.
Yeah, I think the link went at my end, Luke. Sorry about that, but not to cut across you. Slot me back in when you want to.
Welcome
I'm very
back.
happy for you to continue. I'm still very early on, so I think we can go back to this reasonably swiftly, Paul. If you want to continue and talk about the fund particularly, which I'm sure a lot of people have joined us for.
Okay, well, I'll pick up where I left off, and hopefully the link remains. In terms of questions, there may be, if it is specific, we'll probably ask you to email it in. We'll publish the address for you to do so, and that will then be answered in a manner that assists everybody. 6 key areas then that this fund is looking to drive innovation from. The first is delivering a sustainable industrial future. So that's really about materials, manufacturing and engineering. The second is open health innovation, health and well-being. The third is global cultural capital, which is trying to make sure that the current pandemic doesn't remove a lot of the Liverpool city region's cultural vibrancy, that we protect and make that as resilient as we can. Fourthly, zero carbon economy, which is about living, traveling and doing business differently in the future. And then tech for good, number 5. So smart cities, high performance computing, data science, artificial intelligence, some of the things you were talking about, Luke. And finally, digitalization. So productivity, adaptability and diversification are what's being sought there. The key thing to understand about the Future Innovation Fund is that we're looking for projects that can demonstrate an impact or value within 6 months. So this is more about projects that are oven ready than about good ideas. They need to be fairly well developed. The examples of which might be early user trials if it's pre-revenue or proof of concept, or something that's partially in the market. So this is really about sort of saying, what can we, as part of the local industrial strategy, what can we kickstart to help with the recovery quickly that can demonstrate some economic and social value within a relatively short space of time. The fund opened for applications on the 12th of June, and the first call closes on the 6th of July. So moving on to talk about eligibility now. The first tranche of funding, businesses can apply for grant support between 25,000 and 100,000. The eligibility will be, we've tried to keep it as simple as possible. You need to have been a trading business as at the 1st of January this year. You need to have been up to date with HMRC payments. That doesn't mean you haven't taken advantage of HMRC time to pay and VAT deferral. That's absolutely fine. Most businesses will have sensibly done that. But prior to the pandemic, you need to confirm that you were up to date insofar as your arrangements with HMRC. You also need to confirm that your application is not for working capital or business as usual requirements, that it is innovation driven. So there probably will be a spotlight on that in terms of the application sift. We understand that things are very difficult for businesses at present, and funding is probably very, very hard to come by. But this fund is not a source of funding for business as usual applications. It will be exclusively for innovation and looking at one of the 6 areas that we've gone through. And it's not necessarily the case that businesses need to have match funding for the Future Innovation Fund. Businesses that have got match funding will have an advantage there, of course, but for truly outstanding applications that merit it, 100% funding would be an option, but I would stress that that's probably going to be the exception rather than the norm. Moving on to how the application process will work then, or how it is working. You're able to submit an application now up until the 6th of July for the first round. Myself and colleagues are going to be performing, I think they've probably quite unhelpfully called us gatekeepers there. We're a little bit more than that. We're not trying to keep people away from the gate, but we probably do need to make sure that the eligibility, which I've run through, the eligibility check is complete, so that we're getting the right kind of applications, and also that there is a good alignment. So this is with the 6 areas that the projects that we're going to recommend that go forward have a fit into one of those 6 areas, and hence the local industrial strategy. What we've then done is recruit a panel of independent assessors. That's been finalised over the past 2 weeks. We went out to any individual in the Liverpool City region who could demonstrate capability in one of these 6 areas, or capability in a commercial sense, that they bring a skill set from the day job that would be very relevant to looking at the merits of applications. So again, this is an absolutely transparent process. There'll be an independent panel who are not influenced by anything other than, is this an application that they feel has merit and should be taken forward. Once that decision has been made, the applications that succeed will then be considered by the combined authority, the Liverpool City Region Combined Authority. And really, the purpose of that final check is to make sure that we have both sufficient numbers of projects in each of the 6 areas. So we're not top heavy in open health innovation and nothing in tech for good, for example. And also, I think an eye on a geographic split as well, so that it makes sure that these projects are being originated in each of the 6 areas of the Liverpool City region, and therefore that businesses within those 6 regions have a level playing field as well in terms of their projects. So I'll move on finally then to talk about what information you can expect from us, and if you have any questions, how they're going to be dealt with. We've put together as comprehensive a suite of information as is possible here. I would encourage you, if you do nothing else, to have a look at, and again, I think, Danielle, we can share the link to the Future Innovation Fund web page, or page on our website rather. Have a look at, please, the application guidance and the frequently asked questions. The application guidance is probably about 30 pages of detail, which really goes down to granular level about what's meant by demonstrable impact. What do we mean by innovation? What do we mean by projects that are ready to go as opposed to less well developed? So all of that information, please, is there, and I'd certainly stress to you the importance of reading that. At the end of the application guidance, you have visibility of the application form itself. So whilst applications need to be submitted online, you'll be able to have a look at, in a PDF form, the entire suite of information that we're asking for, so that you can begin to prepare that ahead of applying. Frequently asked questions, again, are being added to daily. So where somebody, we think we've covered 99.9% of it, but often that's a foolish thing to assume, and we are asked questions that, you know, people have come up with that we thought, well, actually, that does need to be incorporated into the information that's out there. So hence, we will be doing that on an ongoing basis. Thirdly, you can download and view a copy of the grant funding agreement. That's important because it's the terms and conditions. What are we asking you to sign up to in return for receiving this funding? Things like promotional activity, things like your agreement to share the results of the information, share the results of the funding and the demonstrable impact that it's had with a wider audience, and very importantly, also confirming that the IP, any IP developed, rests with you, the applicant, and with nobody else. There's also then a financial breakdown, so we ask you to go a little bit further into telling us how this funding is going to be used. So over a time scale in terms of the cash flow, what do you need and when, and what do you need it for? So again, this is back to the point that this isn't really about working capital. It's about evidencing that this is project related, and that the project is again in one of the key areas. And then there is some guidance that we've produced on state aid, because one of the things that we will be asking businesses to confirm is that they've read and understood the state aid guidance, and that they're making this application in adherence with that. So there are various things that need to be considered there. If you have received any grant funding in the past, businesses shouldn't be worried about if they've accessed the Coronavirus Business Interruption Loan Scheme, for example, because that's under the UK temporary state aid provisions, that doesn't need to be incorporated. But certainly, if you have received any grant funding in the past 3 years, you would need to disclose that to confirm that you were underneath the maximum there. So that's a very quick canter through what the fund is looking to do in terms of priority areas, what you need to demonstrate in terms of demonstrable impact that you're requesting the money for, what the process is in terms of how your applications are going to be dealt with, and what information is out there to help you put together the best application you can.
Thank you very much, Paul, and thank you for joining us so last minute. I can only presume myself and I are using the same internet provider, seeing as I'm having issues today myself with the internet, but thank you. I really appreciate you joining us. I'll quickly kind of pick up from where I was before, and we'll canter through this, as I say, reasonably swiftly to keep this going, especially as I appreciate that I've covered some of this already. But where I left off, LCR4 START, 2-day, 12-hour business assist for the help in adopting digital technologies that we're going to run through soon, or creating investment around skills and how to achieve these things, and where those avenues are of opportunity. But to just move on to the next slide, What we're looking at today is to explain to you what the Future Innovation Fund is all about and where we think we can add value. So the way I've described it is we aim to support companies where we can add value to their bids through the use of digital technologies or developing digital strategy. Now, it doesn't mean that we can write the bid for you. It doesn't mean we could submit for you. We're not necessarily a partner in the bid, but perhaps we've got technologies and expertise that could support in your argument for or your funding application and strengthen your case. Maybe longer term, there's more to be built off this fund. This is one project, but with all these things, there's often follow-on work and an extra kind of resource and value that's needed to really help these things flourish. And really, if we just move on to the next slide, of those 6 key areas, you could make an argument that digital technologies could apply to all of them. But to go to the last one conversely first, digitalization, that's what the project is all about. That's what LCR4 START is in terms of its bread and butter. But particularly from the bits that I remember from reading these, tech for good, specific theme there around artificial intelligence and other computing terms, and in many ways sustainable industrial futures and open health innovation are excellent examples of how we're moving forward using new skills like mobile apps, or people have often talked about telemedicine and GPs giving appointments but via video links. There's no physical contact. So in many ways these are all applicable to START, and what we're here to do is potentially where we think that there's a good match to be able to talk you through what we can support with, to help you understand where we think we can help you, and then see about how to get that digital journey moving and bring on new technologies and new skills and really help that strategy to flourish. That's a whistle-stop tour, but I'm very happy to cover anything confusing in the Q&A section. But I think for now, I'll move on to Lee, who's going to talk you through some tips from her opinion for applying.
Thanks, Luke. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our first webinar for our LCR4 START project. I've been having a look through the guidance and working with a couple of businesses already. And one of the most important things you need to think about is making sure that you actually do meet the project scope, the funding criteria, and that you've got your idea for your project and it's relevant for what the funding's for. Also, you need to think about how you can diversify your business. As Paul was saying before, it's not for working capital. It's not for you to start up and after the coronavirus. It's for looking at new ways to be more diverse and looking at new opportunities and taking this as a less risk for you to develop your projects and your business. Again, we can look at making sure that you can achieve these objectives within the time scale. It's a 6-month project, so it needs to be virtually ready to go. This is fund has been advertised. It's a very tight deadline. And things need to happen quickly. So make sure that you're able to actually deliver in those timescales. And look at alternative options around finance and the resources that you need to actually deliver the project, because this is like the last resort. Don't just think, oh, pound signs, let's apply for it. It's actually, you've got to consider, and you have to put that into your application as well, that you can't find grants anywhere else. And what's the benefits to the region, and what's the social impacts of these projects that you're thinking about applying for? One of the key things as well is you need to be able to engage and spark the imagination of the assessors. As Paul said, they've got lots of people out there that know their stuff and will be looking for something a little bit different. So I think right at the beginning of your application, you really need to be clear about what it is you're going to do and grab the attention, stand out from the crowd. I would suggest as well to put all these thoughts down on a Word document before uploading it onto the system, getting all the information, because I think there's 2,600 characters, so you are limited as well when you're putting all the information down, and it needs to answer the questions And also, before you even start, perhaps check the eligibility form and make sure that you are eligible for the funds. And I think there's lots of things, we can talk about it forever. And we've got to have a question and answer session, so we want to make sure that we can help you put the strongest application in as possible. And with plenty of opportunities throughout the day to speak to all the team, see what they can do. Okay, thanks. Pass back over to you, Luke.
Thank you. Thank you. Think off mute. Yeah, I think that's really interesting. So thank you, Lee, for covering that, and particularly, Lee's got a good background experience in this. So what I'd say is, we're lucky to have her input here and listen to what she's saying, particularly because I think what it seems like is think about your audience, think about what you're applying for. Would be our kind of initial suggestions, but we'll cover more in the Q&A as mentioned. We're now going to move on quickly to covering who the partners on this call are and what we think we can offer, where our technology expertise is, and really to try and give you a quick overview of what we can do, in hopefully making you think about where we can support. I'll start myself as I'm online anyway, and I'm very lucky to be joined by Angela as well, who works at the Hartree Centre, which is in Daresbury. So thank you for joining us as well, Angela. What STFC can offer is multiple capabilities, but firstly, the Hartree Centre facility can provide expertise in artificial intelligence, data analytics, computing, lots of different of these kind of key terms surrounding technologies, like Internet of Things, data streaming and just analytics. So how do we take lots of data and turn that into something meaningful and something we can use and for our own advantage? So broadly speaking, that's what the Hartree Centre does. Happy to go into more details about things like artificial intelligence and machine learning, predictive maintenance, all these keywords. But also we have some expertise as well in rapid prototype design. So rapid prototyping being 3D printing and CAD design, but also generally that kind of cycle and how to take something from an idea and make it something tangible that you can hold and use in a swift manner. It's a very broad overview, but that's what we think we can offer. Next, I'll hand over to go to Lee and talk about LJMU's capabilities.
Hi again, everyone. Yeah, I should have actually introduced myself. I work at John Moores University in the Faculty of Engineering and Technology, and I'm a dedicated resource on this project to link industry to all the academic expertise within our faculty, which is slightly different than, say, from Luke and down from Virtual Engineering Centre and other partners like Sensor City. So we have a wide range of expertise and knowledge based within the faculty, coming under a number of departments. So we have maritime and mechanical engineering, and under that we have some research institutes. So there's the logistics and maritime, MIMARC, and general engineering. And then we have electrical and electronic engineering, and we also have built environment and civil engineering. So one of the areas that we're keen to investigate with the LCR4 START project is how construction can adopt digital technologies as well. So we're looking into that now to look at events to encourage those techniques and technologies to be adopted. We have maths and computer science, and we also have the Astrophysics Research Institute that fall under the faculty. So we have a massive range of expertise and knowledge that you can link to, and hopefully they get some advice and guidance around looking at new ways of doing things. So I'll pass you over now to Dan from the Virtual Engineering Centre.
Hi there. Sorry, just unmuting myself. I think we've already given you quite a wide range of expertise from the partners here. And I think it's important to err on the side of getting in touch, because even if there's not a specific thing that we at the VEC or Luke or Leslie can help you with immediately, the network that the partners have access to through START could hopefully enable us to put you in touch with a partner that could help either with the design of your bid or the delivery of your bid. So from the VEC, from the Virtual Engineering Centre based at Daresbury, some of our expertise overlaps with what Luke and Leslie have already talked about. We also have specialties in visualization, so in using tools like virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality for a diverse range of addressing real business needs. So whether that be for training, for collaboration, for sales, using these high-tech technologies appropriately to add value to your business. And that could be from the visualization side or through things that Luke's already mentioned, such as the robotics, the AI, the data analysis. Perhaps you're coming to one of your key issues is your collaboration with stakeholders, with your suppliers, with collaborators on big projects. Maybe you've got data in lots of different formats and you struggle to quickly turn around ideas between you. These kind of nuts and bolts business issues are all ones that we can possibly help with in the context of your bid or in the context of other projects that we have coming down the line that might be able to give more intensive help than the 12 hours we're able to offer here to support what you're doing. As I say, we're here for the question and answer, and we are here and paid by taxpayers' money to help. So anything we can do, we'll try to do. And I'll pass back to Luke.
Yeah, I think just quickly to conclude on that one before before we go into the Q&A, what I'd hope that we managed to convey here is that we're hoping to provide a breadth of expertise across many different areas that's, you know, really showcasing a breadth of capabilities across the city region. So maybe it's data analysis in my own case, or artificial intelligence. Maybe it's the strength of the LJMU engineering capabilities. Maybe it's visualization. And in some cases, it will be a mix of a combination. That's the thing about digital tools. There's still lots of ways they can be used. But what I'd say to anyone here today is if you're not sure who to contact, we're working together. It's one program. It's supposed to unite us all together. So if you could move on to the next slide, please. I've provided our contact details. So myself, Lee, and both Dan and Adrian on there. So if you think that you found your exact partner from those pitch below and go, yeah, that was exactly what I was looking for. You know, you've said everything that I wanted, then please do contact us. And if you think you have and you're not too sure, but you think you've got the right partner, we can always let you know if we think that someone else has the capabilities. If you're not sure, or you're sort of in between, or you just want to learn more, and generally you think the program's great, but you're not sure where you fit in, Danielle can definitely help you and guide you with that. And having the growth platforms expertise is very useful for that. So I think that's it for me. So I think I'll hand over to you, Danielle, for the Q&A, or if anyone else has got anything to add.
Brilliant. Yeah, so one thing I would just like to reiterate is that, as Lucas just said, if you don't feel like any of the specific partners have just immediately jumped out to you, please do get in contact with me. It's my role within Growth Platform to sit down with you, have more of a conversation about where you're at, where you would like to be. And hopefully then once we've had more of a conversation with each other, we've unpicked things a little bit, you will know then who to be triaged to. So that is my role. So don't be afraid to get in contact with me if you're sort of on your journey, but you're not entirely sure. So get through to the Q&A. So Nori has said, following on from Dinora's question, if you move existing staff to be dedicated to this project innovation, is that okay? Otherwise, companies would have to hire staff just for this project.
Danielle, that's probably one I can come in on. If you look at the frequently asked questions page on the growth platform information for the fund, there are several questions that have been asked about the fund paying for staff costs. The answer is yes, the fund will pay for staff costs, but it will only pay for those that can demonstrate that they are project specific. So the answer to that question is, if you redeploy staff within an organisation to work exclusively on the project that you are looking for funding for, then yes, the fund will pay those costs. Again, how do you evidence that? We've given some information there around timesheets, which clearly indicate the time spent is allocated to the project that's being funded, copies of pay slips showing salary and on costs, any sort of financial systems reports that a business may have, or indeed invoices from any agency staff that are working on a project. So there's a whole host of information regarding how businesses can claim staffing costs, provided that it's exclusive to the project on the FAQ section.
Thank you very much for that, Paul. And then we've had Dave from LJMU, or Dave. So he says, the purpose of this is to flag up those SMEs who don't have the time/resources currently to submit a bid in round 1, but are keen to submit in rounds 2 and 3. Do we know the dates for rounds 2 and 3?
Again, happy to jump in on this one. Provisionally, round 2 will be Q3 this year, and round 3 will be towards the turn of this year. So when I say provisionally, it is first past the post with this fund. So we anticipate that there will be a strong demand, but we won't really know until the closure of the first round on the 6th of July how many applications have been received, and that will then allow us to plot the second and third tranches. But bear in mind that this is demonstrable impact within 6 months. It wouldn't make any sense for us to delay rounds 2 and 3 for a further 6 months when the whole purpose of this is to get things happening quickly.
Could I add a point to this as well, Paul, which it may be what you were asking, Dale, maybe slightly different, but I think if an SME sort of is looking at this particular bid and thinking, well, we might not have time and stuff, and then may look at the next one, there's no guarantee, unless I'm incorrect, that the next one will be of exactly the same form in terms of the bids. So, you know, I think, you know, if the question is, should I apply for this one or should I apply for exactly the same fund that's coming later in the year, there's no guarantee it will work like that. And that's going from a position of an assumption as opposed to knowledge or insider kind of information. It's just something I presume will be the case.
I think it's a fair assumption that these businesses shouldn't assume that they can defer an application to rounds 2 or rounds 3, in that it is first past the post with each round. So, you know, the business has to make a choice. Is this worth investing the time to apply for or not? It's not the case that we can say, well, yeah, you know, submit an application, we'll consider it for round 2 or round 3. They will have, whenever they open, they will have defined application dates that all businesses will have to apply for or within, and it will be first past the post for those dates as well, just as it is with this one.
Brilliant. And Cliff would like to know, what are the 3 top generic impact areas you are looking for in a successful bid?
I think the answer to that question is probably for the independent assessors to score against. Quite frankly, it wouldn't be proper for me to give a view on in this forum what would be the top 3 things that would make an application successful. That is for the business to put in their application, not for us to sort of to comment on, I think.
Fabulous. And an anonymous attendee would like to know, making an impact, does delivering a benefit have to start in month 1, or can it start in month 3 when a rapid prototype has been built and deployed, etc.?
Again, I think perfectly reasonable to expect that things may take some time to gain momentum. So great if a project can hit the ground running in month 1, but probably more likely is that's going to be a minority. So provided that the the economic or social value can be demonstrated within 6 months. It doesn't really matter when within that 6 months it starts to happen.
I'll add as well, I don't know who anonymous attendee is, and if you're going to say the same thing as me, Lee, but contact myself and Lee from the emails on the screen, and hopefully we can provide some guidance, especially if there's work around rapid prototyping. So hopefully one of us will be able to guide you on that.
Yeah, I was just going to say maybe that would be part of the delivery plan within your application and your key milestones. So that would need to be covered in there, and it will be clear where you are going to make the impact from the sort of your key performance indicators and what you expect to do.
That is something we can offer from start, is to explain. Also, potentially, it might be you're looking at that period for your prototype to generate some impact, or it might be slightly longer. It might be something we can look at in more detail and tweak the design so it's got to become even more impactful, you know. So I'd say if you're looking at something like rapid prototyping, do get in touch, and hopefully we can provide some guidance to say, okay, you can make this much impact within 3 months, but actually within 9 months it's going to be this, or, you know, there's all sorts you could work on stuff like that.
Does a company need to have a specific turnover to be eligible, or can a new business apply providing they were set up before January?
Happy to answer that one. Provided you were set up or company was registered on as at 1st of January, no difficulties with applying.
Brilliant. And a question for Paul. Could you just clarify that match funding is not required for the fund, but it would definitely be looked on more favourably?
Okay, well, I think what I will do, we have had a similar question to this, which is, putting it another way, will applications with a match funding element receive preference? And the answer to that is that we do have a key priority to ensure that the best value is achieved from the use of the funding, and we encourage all applicants to seek to obtain match funding where possible, but appreciate that it will not always be possible to secure match funding, and therefore, this is the key bit, therefore high quality innovative projects without match funding which score highly on other criteria may receive priority for funding. So it's not essential to have match funding. Match funding is encouraged, but if it's not possible and the business can show it simply isn't possible to attract match funding, and the proposition is of such high quality and innovation that it scores highly on other criteria, then there won't be any undue preference there to those that do have match funding.
And will it be possible to resubmit applications in rounds 2 and 3 if not successful in round 1?
I'll come in on that one. Yes, it will. If your application is unsuccessful, you are welcome to apply for the future calls. I think Luke mentioned the eligibility may well evolve over the course of the scheme. So just because it hasn't quite got over the bar this time doesn't mean that that won't be the case potentially in the future. But back to the point that it will be first past the post. So I think it would be incumbent on a business, if they have been unsuccessful the first time, to repeat the process within the timescales of when the rounds 2 and 3 will open, and get their application in if they wish to do so.
And how many projects can one submit?
Again, the answer to that is it's a single application. So the expectation is that businesses will be bidding for one particular round of funding.
Okay, fab. And please could you tell us the definition of trading and pre-trading written in the eligibility criteria? Does this mean we have to be revenue generating before Jan 2020 to be considered? I think you've kind of just answered that one, haven't you, Paul?
Yeah, there is. I'd point the person asking that question to the eligibility checklist. There is guidance on exactly what's meant there, but I think, you know, as you say, we have covered it.
Yeah. Can a project application include partners other than the ones mentioned today? And if so, how much detail needs to be provided as to how the partners will be involved?
Okay. We have had a question which basically is, can academic organisations, for example, apply for funding? This project is aimed at SMEs, so the SMEs need to be the, if you like, the lead project partners, but we of course welcome projects which involve collaborators in a supporting role, which may be an academic organisation, it may be a third party in a supply chain, but yes, the SME needs to be the lead applicant, and there is a section on the application form that asks specifically who and if there are any other partners that are involved in the application and what their roles are expected to be.
I think there was a bit of a part two as well, Danielle, just to clear up that LCR4 START is not, you know, intrinsic linked to the Future Innovation Fund. Applying, you know, talking to us before applying does not get you some sort of magic step up, but what we hope we can do is add value. So, you know, there's lots of different partners you can talk to. We just think that we have something that we can offer, particularly to companies working with digital tools, but it doesn't necessarily mean we're intrinsically linked to that bid in any particular special way.
And Dave would also like to let everybody know that match funding can be applied for via Made Smarter UK. The statement less than a question, but thank you very much, Dave. And if a company feels that its project could fit into more than one category / theme, what would we have to specifically pick one, or can we also mention the other categories and themes in the application?
Maybe one for me, Danielle. Yeah, if you have a look at the application guidance, there is specifically the question asks the business which of the 6 areas, or how many of the 6 areas, is this application looking to demonstrate impact within. So you can pick more than one. Great if applicants can do so. And I think, as Luke mentioned before, you know, tech for good and digitisation may well be just as relevant in open health innovation and delivering a sustainable industrial future. So it doesn't have to fit neatly into one area, it can span across others as well.
And can we approach any of your partners to help us submit the bid?
Yes, we can help. I mean, as I say, we're limited, so you know, we can't put pen to paper for you. We can certainly help guide and scope, and that'll be a conversation between us. So, you know, just to highlight the slide we've got, if you think one of us in particular has an expertise that you're crying out for, then please feel free to contact one of us. We've left our time, at least some of the time left in the day, for one-to-ones, so all the partners here, but sure, we could have a discussion before the end of the week. I don't know if anyone else has anything to add to that.
No, we all good.
It's good to chat. So even if you're just a little bit unsure, and I think somebody had actually said, can we bounce some ideas off you? Yeah, we're happy to help, but so we can't say whether it's a good idea or not, really, because we're not going to be able to sort of make those choices. Your application has to be strong and clear, and it has to be submitted to the assessors and go through the process.
I'll just add one more thing as well, which is I don't think it's unfair to say this will probably be a highly competitive bid. It's likely that a lot of people, and possibly some good applications, won't quite reach that benchmark because, you know, for any sort of reasons. And that's another place we can step in. So if we've identified these technology areas, whilst there's no guarantee, we might be able to look for other avenues and other ways to continue past this first bid and into other opportunities. I'm sure everyone else would agree on that one.
And just a couple of START related questions is, will the partners work together on projects?
Absolutely. The purpose of collaborative projects is to get all the skills and all the knowledge together that we have and to be able to deliver the best value for business. So as you say, if you get in touch with one of us, if we don't think we're the right fit, we can put you in touch with the other partners, people who aren't our partners. As Luke just said, signpost you towards other resources that might be able to help. That's what we're here for.
Brilliant. And which sectors are eligible for the support?
So for the LCR4 START project, it's sector agnostic. So for those, and it's good to see some familiar faces here who've worked on the original project. This is not manufacturing specific. If your business would like some help with its digital strategy journey, with this bit in particular, with accessing other programs, please get in touch regardless of what sector you're in.
And finally, if I apply for the fund but I am unsuccessful, can I still engage with you?
Absolutely.
We've had one more question through. If we want to contact one or more of the partners to talk later today, how do we do that? An email contact initially. If you feel like more than one of the partners are somebody that you would like to have a conversation with, just email all of us in one go. We're more than happy to have group conversations. I think everyone will probably agree.
I think, you know, with all these things, a conversation is the best way to start these things, and wherever we can find value, I'm sure we'll be able to look in a variety of ways.
Brilliant. So that's it for all of the questions. I don't know if anybody has anything that they feel they need to add, or is there anybody who would like to frantically type one more question? But if not, I think we might be done.
Danielle, can I just mention, I think it's already on the feed, but if anybody does have any Future Innovation Fund type queries, can we repost the email address, which is futureinnovationfund@growthplatform.org. So we'll undertake to respond within a day or so to any queries that come in, and those questions and the answer will then be appended to the FAQ section on the Growth Platform website.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll just clear through a couple of thank yous. Thank you all for attending. I hope that was informative, useful, and opened your eyes to possibly some new ways of applying for this bid, or indeed just using digital tools. What I'd say is, if you don't know at all if this is suitable for you, but you're interested, talk to one of us. And finally, thank you to Paul who's joined us at the very last minute, and thank you all, given we've done this very last minute. Thank you to Danielle for sharing as well. I'm very grateful. So thank you. And unless anyone else has got anything to say, we'll call it for a day, I think.
Brilliant. And yeah, again, just would love to reiterate specifically, Paul, thank you so much. I know this was kind of thrown on you last minute, but you've been wonderful. So thank you so much for attending. And thank you everybody for joining such short notice.
Thanks, Danielle.
Brilliant. Thank you all.